Hi, this is Janet Alfred. This is part 2 of our fraction number 3 video, fraction and percentages. In part 1 we worked out fraction of a number and percentages of a number, which is the basics of that, mostly what you learn in primary school. Now we're going to move on to percentage increase and decrease. We're going to work back to unknown numbers. Okay, so let's get started on this then. Fraction word problems, working back to unknown numbers. Now, if I say to you 1/3 of a number is 6, what is the number? The best way to see that problem is with this diagram here. We would think we have thirds, split it up in 3, and one of them is 6. Now, can you see that this will be 6 also, and that will be 6? In other words, what would the number be? 18. Okay, 2/3 of a number is 6. What is the number? Now the same diagram, but now that bit is 2. So what would one of these be? It would be half of 6. 3. So if that's 3, then that's 3, then that's 3. And 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, 2/3 of a number is 30. What is the number? Do you think you can do that with this diagram? It's your turn. Pause the video and you do the rest. Okay, there's your answers. Pause the video to check them. There's the answers there. 2/3 of a number is 15 is 30. So in other words, 2 parts 30, so 1 part is 15. Okay, which is where the 45 comes from. 15 times 3. 1/4 is 5. What is the number? In other words, if that's 5, that's 5, that's 5, that's 5. 5 times 4 is 20. 3/4 of a number is 12. What is the number? 3 parts is equal to 3 parts is equal to 12. What is 1 part? 1 part is 12 divided by 3. 4. 4. And that is 4, and that is 4, and that is 4. In other words, 4 times 4 gives us 16. Okay? Now, percentage word problems, working back to unknown numbers when we have the percentage. 10% of a number is 24. What is the number? So we can think of 10%, that will make 100%, won't it? So if we know what 1 is, can you see that we can just times it by 10? Because each of these will be 24. And we don't want to add 10 24s together, because that would take too long. And that is why we have multiplication, why we can times, because that's a fast way of adding. In other words, we're going to say it's 24 times 10, which is 240. Now pause the video and you try to do the next one. And the next two if you can. Okay, for those who need more help, 50% of a number is 24. What is the number? 50 of these is 24. We know that 2 50s make 100. So it's simply going to be another 24. And 24 plus 24 gives us 48. Okay, do you want to try the next one on your own? I think pause the video here, try to do these. Then we move on to the answers now. There's your answers, it's down there. 40% of a number is 24. So if we know that 4 of those are 24, we can find out what 1 would be. 1 would be a 6, 24 divided by 4. So we know that all of these would be 6s. And all of these 6s would add up to 100%, which is the number. 6 times 10 gives us the 60. 30% of a number is 24. What is the number? So there's our 3 tens, which is 24 divided by 3, 8. So all of them would be 8. And if we add 10 eights together, we will get the 80. Okay, we're moving on to a little bit more complicated word problems than what we've seen in part 1. Okay, now these sums 1/4, you can use what we've just learned working back to the number. Those you can do in that way. How would you do 23 out of 40 as a percentage? Do you want to pause the video first and see how many you can do? And then I will work with you through the ones that I think is difficult. Okay, maybe you will find this one difficult. 600 milliliter of lotion contains 200 milliliter of free lotion. What percentage is free? Okay, so we need to think 200 milliliter is free, so it's 200 out of 600. That is our fraction. If we simplify that, divide by 100 top and bottom, we get 2 6s. Simplify it more, divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 6 divided by 2 is 3. We get 1/3. 1/3 as the fraction 1/3 is 3. So what is the fraction 1/3 as a percentage? We looked at this a lot earlier on, didn't we? It is 33%. Honestly, really, it's 33.333, but if we round it just to a whole number, it will give us 33%, yeah? Now, maybe this one is also hard. We've worked a lot on these questions in our first and second video. Okay. 23 out of 40. What is that as a percentage? If we made the bottom number 20, we're going to have a decimal number there. We don't want that, so we just add zeros there. And then we're going to say 100, so we divide by 4 and divide by 4. So you need to divide 230 by 4, which you can do like this. 4 goes in 2 how many times? It cannot. 4 goes in 23 5 times. Your remainder is 3. 5 goes in 30 how many times? 7. 7 times 4 is 28, so we've got a remainder of 2. In other words, we need a point and a 0, and we need the 2 there and the point there. 4 goes in 25. So my answer is 57. Oops, not there. My answer is 57.5 over 100, which is 57.5%. Okay, now you try the rest, pause the video now, and we're moving to the answers now. There's the answers, please check. Now I wonder if you could do this one, number 2 here. I would guess most of you would have found that quite difficult. 20 out of 22. Now if you remember the golden rule I showed you before, we said simplify. So half of 20 10. Half of 22, 11. Now if you know like me that if you divide by 11 you get your 9 times table, so you get 10 times 9, that is quite helpful. And if you divide by 11 you get your 9 times table. That is quite helpful, but if you don't know the little tricks, then this could potentially be hard. Nothing we can do there else. We need to do 10 divided by 11. Now can you remember from division your first number go under the bus stop? Okay, I know that we need a point and zeros. So I'm going to add that. 11 goes in 1, it cannot. 11 goes in 10, it cannot. So it's 0 point. But my remainder is 10. 11 goes in 100 9 times. 9 times 11 is 99, so my remainder is 1. 11 goes in 10, it cannot. My remainder is 10. 11 goes into 100, 9. My remainder is 1. 11 goes in 10, it cannot. Can you see that will go on forever? That is why I said you get your 9 times table. You get 90, 90, 90, 90. 10 times 9 is 90. What do you think 9 divided by 11 would be? 9 times 9 is 81. 0.818181. Yeah? Do you agree with that? Do you want to test it for any other dividing by 11? Okay, so if we have a decimal number of 0.9090, what is that as a percentage? 90.909090. Now I've just rounded the answer there to 1 decimal place. Okay, if you want to know more about rounding, go to my decimal video. Pause the video if you want to check further. We are moving on now. Now I just quickly want to check, can you work with and without a calculator? So we've done before. I just took an extraction here of one of my worksheets. 28 out of 70, that is now without a calculator. I didn't put it up there. 28 out of 70, and we want to change it to a percentage. Calculate the following percentage with a calculator, that's without. Now if we want to calculate that without a calculator, we need to follow the golden rule I taught you before, that is simplifying. I can see my 7 times table here, so I would like to divide by 7 and divide by 7, which gives me 4 over 10, which is 40 over 100, which is 40%. So that's how we do this without a calculator. And we've just done in part 1 how to work out 55%. You can work out 50% and 5%. Okay, I'm not going to go through that now again. How will you do it with a calculator, this one? You can do it 2 ways. If you have a scientific calculator, 7 out of 20, that is a fraction. You times it with 100. So you can use your fraction button and times 100 to change a fraction to a percentage. Yeah, do this, or if you don't have a scientific calculator, simply 7 divide 28 times 100. Okay? Now do that on your calculator. 7 divide 28 times 100, and you will get 25. Maybe you could have done that one without a calculator as well. 25%. Try to do the rest with your calculator. Very important. Try to use your calculator a lot for checking. because you need to be confident on this. Your calculator, very important. I see so many students who cannot use their calculator to work out a percentage. Calculate the following percentage of the given amount. How do we do that with a calculator? You're very good now. In part 1 you've learned how to do it without. But how do you do it with? 22%. What is that as a fraction? It is 22 over 100. And that fraction we want to change to a percentage. No, that fraction we want to take off this amount. Okay, so on your calculator you're going to do it exactly like this. Scientific calculator, use your fraction button. If you don't have a scientific calculator, you're going to enter 22 divided by 100 times 870. Okay? Okay, it's your turn. Please complete this sheet. Pause the video to do that. Now there's your answers. Please check them. Pause the video to do that. Okay, we're going to increase and decrease. If I say to you increase 250 by 10%, you're going to think I take 250 and I add 10% to it. That 250 you can see as 100%, and I add a 10% to it. What is 10% of 250? 25. Okay, so it's 250 plus 25 is 275. Yeah, we worked out how to do these without a calculator in part 1. You should be confident on that now. Now we're going to look at a multiplier to do it with our calculator. So if we think of 100 plus 10%, 100% plus 10%, that is 110%, which is 110 out of 100, which is 110 divided by 100. Point, move back, 1, 2, 1.10. So my multiplier is 1.10. It's basically 100% plus 10% divided by 100. In other words, on your calculator, do 250 times 1.10 and see if you get the same answer. If you do, you did that calculation correct. Okay, you should get the same answer. Now you try to do the rest of the increases up to number 4. Not the decreases yet, it's different. Pause the video to do that. Okay, did you manage to get the right answers there? You won't know because you don't have them yet. It's on the next sheet, so I'm not going to show it to you yet. Increase 300 by 5%. Let's try that one because it's might be a bit more tricky. We have 300 and we're going to plus 5%. Now first of all, what is 10%? 10% is 300 divided by 10, which is 30. In other words, 5% is half of 30, which is 15. So we get 315. Now what do you think your multiplier is when it's 5% and you increase? It's going to be 100% plus 5%. And 100% plus 5% is 105%. Divide by 100 is 1.05. Now don't say 150 because 150% would be increased by 50%. Yeah, and that would be multiplier 1.50. So what would the multiplier be for 20%? 1.20. What would it be for 15? 1.15. Okay, so take the multiplier and multiply it with your 300. 300 times 1.05. Okay? and you will get the 315 you got there. Now let's do the same numbers here, but we are just decreasing. So we already know 10% of 250 is 25. We worked it out there. 25. So 250 take away 25 is 225. Now this is 100%, and that is take away 10%, which gives us 90%. 90% divided by 100. Let's think 90 over 100, isn't it? 90 divided by 100 is 0.90. Okay, so that's where the 0.90 times comes from. So if you do that sum, 250 times 0.90, you will get 225. Decrease 200 by 20%. Okay, you can easily do that yourself. I think pause the video and try to do this yourself. Okay, did you get this? Did you manage to do this? That was 300 take away 15 as we worked it out there. And 300 take away 15 is 285. How would you do it with a calculator? You would work out your multiplier. What is your multiplier? It's 100% take away 5%, 95%. In other words, 0.95. Therefore, you're going to say 300 times 0.95. Okay, with your calculator. Now, if you haven't yet finished up to there, pause the video to do that. We're going to look now at reverse percentages. The price of an Xbox is reduced by 20% in the sale. It costs 250 in the sale. What was the original price? So what's your multiplier? Let's think. We had the original price, and we multiplied by, if we had the original price, we would have increased. In other words, it would have been no, it's reduced, isn't it? If we had the original price, we would have decreased by 20%. In other words, 100 take away 20, which is 80%. In other words, 0.80. Yeah, original price times 0.80, and that gives me the new reduced price of 250. In other words, we want this one, that is the unknown one. Our multiplier is 0.80. We want the original price, so we have to say 250 divided by 0.80. Okay, to get your answer. This one, the value of a collector's item increased. Now this is an increase by 25% up to 80. So it was the original price. We times with the multiplier, and this is an increase. In other words, 100 plus 25% is 125%. Divided by 100 is 1.25. And that's my multiplier. And the original times that will give me the new price of 80. So we have to work out the original, in other words, 80 divided by 1.25. Okay, pause the video and check if you can do all of this. We're moving on, and there's your answers. Pause the video to check. Please make sure you can do this. Pause the video. We're moving on. Now we're just going to almost done. Percentage difference, increase or decrease. Now percentage change or difference or whatever you want to call it, can be a percentage increase or profit. A profit is an increase, or it can be a decrease or a loss. Percentage change is your difference over the original. Now it doesn't matter if this original is larger or smaller, it stays the original, and this is the formula you have to use. Now if your original price was larger and the new price is smaller, was it an increase or a decrease? Okay, you have to think, is it an increase or a decrease? Then you have to work out the difference. The larger take away the smaller. And then you have to work out the percentage change with this formula. Okay? So there I have a few for you. Think, is it an increase or a decrease? What is the difference, and use this formula. And there's a few word problems for you. See if you can do them. There's much more in the workbook. Pause the video and do that. Okay, there's the answers now. You can see from 150 to 90 was less, so it was a decrease. 150 take away 90 is 60. How did we get that 40%? It was, follow the formula, 60 over original. What was the original? 150. And we times with 100. And do that on your calculator. 60 divided by 150 times 100. Okay, this one, can you see this one is larger than this one? The new price is larger. In other words, it was an increase. The larger one take away the smaller one. That is the difference. So how did you work out the 5% there? You said it's 775. The difference over the original. Originally it was this. It doesn't matter if it's smaller or bigger. That is what it was, and we times with 100. Okay? Now we've done all of these before. Pause the video and check your answers here. Okay, now we've reached the end of this video. I do not cover every single thing you have to know, but I've certainly covered all the basics that can bring you really far, and where I want my students to be when we're working on GCSE level maths. So then we don't have to waste our time working on the stuff, the easier work, so we can work on harder work so you can get better grades then. So hopefully this helped. This is actually quite hard work here. Don't think I say it's easy. Most of my students do struggle with this. Okay, so please download the workbook if you need more practice, and also watch my other videos, and please subscribe. And thank you so much for listening.